Welcome to the Vision Gap Show. Align your big idea and vision with a plan of action to resonate and stand out in your market. With your hosts, Andy Halko and Tony Zayas.
All right, we're back for another episode. Andy, I think this week would be awesome for us to dive into talk about target audiences, ICPs, personas. Obviously, understanding your audience is super important to everything else, strategy and success. So I thought that would be a good place for us to start. So tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, audiences. I mean, that is the place to start, right? I think in my years in owning an agency, whether you're doing a website, you're doing positioning, you're doing marketing, there's one thing that is the most important across all of those is understanding your audience more than anything else, because that is what entices them and convinces them is that you understand their pains, needs, challenges, whatever it might be. And so to me, if you don't understand your audiences better than your competitors, and you don't understand them in an unbiased way, you are not going to have successful marketing.
I think there's going to be a difference in someone who's, let's say, been in an industry for a long time, really knows their buyer, their audience. Maybe they've been that person, right? As opposed to someone who's newer, just changed, moved into it. So you have all these different, people coming from different perspectives. I think the key thing is to know how do you mine that data when needed and what are the things to look at. So what would be valuable today is we have a process and a tool that we use frictionless to do this. So let's pop that up and I think go through it and talk about how do you make sure you nail all those different points really to gain that understanding. I think you have your screen here, so I will bring that up.
Yeah, I think one of the important things to even lead with too is the old school personas that tended to be a pretty picture of a person's face, and these really nice graphics and things. And it to me, it always felt a little bit like an exercise that an agency or a consultant would do that was a feel-good thing. Like, let me do Sally, buys a lot and some other random names, right? And the reality to me is it's always been about the information and getting it right. That's why I, a lot of times, have focused on, what we care about is not the name of the persona, but what are their true pains? Yeah. What are their true buying factors? And so I think having a process that's very information-centric is so important. And that's why I think using a tool where it's more about that information, so that if you're, as an example, looking at a tech founder, right? And that's someone that you target, is first, what are their influencers? Things like their pains, buying factors, what motivates them, what are their job responsibilities, and then who in the organization influences them.
And most importantly, like Timmy Tech founder, right?
What'd you say?
It's Timmy Tech founder, right? Like, go back to that point.
Right?
There would always be the cutesy names with the personas. So you could do that, but yeah.
Well, and again, I mean, I think that that's used as a crutch to make it a fun exercise for the agency to put together and put a nice design around. But it's not the strategist's approach to personas.
Yeah.
The strategist approach to personas is, let's make sure we get the data really perfect to help inform what is this headline that we have, or what is the conversion action we want people to take, or what is the message in our ad. And you were saying earlier about, folks within an organization maybe having experience and knowing their personas. And I'll tell you one thing I've learned over the years is that even the folks that have been in the business 20, 30 years, they get a biased approach of this. They have interacted with a certain segment of people, potentially through a very specific channel, and they built in their head a persona that may be very situational. And a great example is companies where maybe for 20 years they've built their business off referrals, and now they have to shift into marketing. Yeah. Well, a referral is going to have slightly different pains and mindset, and they're going to put things forward versus someone that maybe isn't further in the buying cycle that you're trying to reach in a marketing campaign, right? And so I think one of the important things in using, again, a tool like Frictionless is leveraging something like AI, that when you're looking for buying factors, that it can come in and look at it from, I'll call it the most unbiased approach can be, is that it has no knowledge of, this specific person. It's pulling from a wide range of resources. It's leveraging a wide range of data. And so you can see something where it says, what's a buying factor for a tech founder? And you've got, industry experience. Yes, a tech founder wants to buy from a marketing agency that has experience in their industry, track record of success, data-driven strategies. And you can see something like this where, maybe you have that in your head, but isn't it great that you can leverage an unbiased system to come in here and help you mine this data to get it right?
And I think to counterbalance that experienced person that comes in with these certain biases, they could still input, and they definitely want to elaborate on the buyer that they know and their pain points, buying factors, all of that. But all these gaps that would otherwise be just missed opportunities, this unbiased approach helps to fill those gaps, right? So you don't miss out on those.
Well, and I think it's important to understand that some of these may need narrowed, right? You have managing growth as a pain, but you may want to specifically come in here and say, this is how I've seen my audience do it. And so I think getting that unbiased data, but then being able to hone it on your own, even makes it more powerful, as well as, creating your own that you've learned that maybe no one else in the industry has. So I do think it's a great point of how do you balance the unbiased with your industry knowledge. And I do, influencers is where I start. I again think if you're doing strategy, you're doing marketing, website, understanding what influences your target audience is literally the foundation upon which all the success that you'll have is built. But there are other good ones of understanding things like what are their interests in, like what trends are they interested in, so that you're thinking ahead. And that's great in product development or thinking through some of these other, strategies that you might take even into content writing, and so great example here. What's a tech founder? Artificial intelligence, remote work, data privacy. I mean, these are 100% trends that we know tech founders are interested in. And again, sets that foundation for what is an article that I might write, or what is a feature that I really need to be thinking about.
And going back to the seasoned veteran that comes in here having a good sense of the buyer that they know, seeing those trends sometimes are going to open eyes and give you new awareness to, oh, wow, yeah, this is a trend that I typically don't think of, but man, blockchain is something we have to really consider and think about nowadays. And that wasn't a thing 2 years ago, right? So I think that's important to look at it, how it could fill those gaps of where there's missed, influences, interests, etc.
Yeah, again, even things like, softwares, what are they interested in as far as tools or solutions that they want to buy? And then you get into things like channels. Where do you reach these folks? And again, we're talking about how do you create a strategy for marketing? Well, you want to understand where is your buyer, right? And so you're not going to implement ad campaigns or attend an event. What you want to do is come in here and say, okay, look, 90% of tech founders use LinkedIn, TechCrunch, or even Reddit. I think this is a great example. Product Hunt, which is 100% where a tech founder is going to be. And so now you, again, with channels, have been able to inform this is where we really want to spend some of our effort in either advertising and having some data behind that, which is always so powerful, right?
Yeah.
And information sources. And we could go on, but what we're seeing here is how quickly you can get a better grasp of who your target persona is, where they read Harvard Business Review, VentureBeat, Hacker News. I mean, you may know these channels, you may not, but now you've really generated that. And I think the great thing to have with this is now this is something that your entire team has access to, so that they can come in, and whether you're in marketing, you're in sales, you're in product development, you're in customer service, that there is a central source of truth that is highly focused on the most important information, and it can be updated and collaborated on. And again, the old agency days, we did it ourselves, but that PDF that you sent out with Terry, the tech founder, and you send it out to your teams, it stays in the email and it never gets opened again. And then it gets old and it doesn't change. And so you really, if audiences are the foundation of success, which I really believe that they are, you better be using a real-time collaborative tool that's unbiased to be able to have your entire team align behind who is the best person that we're going to be talking to and going after.
To your point of that team involvement in this, that's always been a challenge that I've seen, is that often these personas were built in marketing. And marketing does their best to do it, but a lot of times it's built in theoreticals because they're not actually engaging and talking to these people. So when you get sales, when you get customer success, you get the other folks involved, giving the input. They're the ones that are actually on a day-to-day talking to these people, hearing about their pains, hearing about the features and things that they like in your product or service. That's where you could really build out something that is usable. And the way we use this is we do that collaborative exercise, right? And so the value in that is, to your point of, marketing sends out the PDF of here's Sally buys a lot. If everyone's not involved to an extent in that process, they won't feel a sense of ownership, and they could feel that it's just off. And so I think what we've been able to do here has been beneficial because it allows everyone to be involved and everyone to pitch ideas that go into it, figure out, really defining what this persona looks like. And that's where you get, output that people are going to use. So I think that's something that solves a big challenge that I've always seen with persona building.
Yeah, and I think just kind of putting a nice bow on this is truly, personas to me are a central theme of every business. And any business that's not super focused on it is missing the boat.
For sure. And with that, I mean, I think that's a good conversation, just talking about something super foundational. What I think is important is that everything in this series that we're going to be talking about, it all relates, it's all connected, and it's all going to build off of, each other. So as we, define and talk about how you can build out personas, keep in mind that now we're going to use that information to inform as we go into positioning, messaging, other things, which we'll get to in, our upcoming episodes. But this has been great, Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I think it's fantastic.
Awesome. We will see everybody next time.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everybody.
This episode of the Vision Gap Show has been brought to you by Frictionless. Build high-impact strategy at scale. Create your vision, brand position, and go-to-market strategy, all in a collaborative AI-enabled workspace. Visit frictionlesshq.com to create your free account today.